In the world of Demon Slayer, the 12 Kizuki stand as the most powerful demons under Muzan Kibutsuji's command. Among these demons, the upper moons hold positions of terrifying strength and malice, but behind their monstrous exteriors lie stories of tragedy and pain that shape them into the fearsome beings they are today. Grab some tissues, because today I'll be breaking down the tragic backstories of every upper moon in Demon Slayer. Let's get started. Let's begin with the sibling duo of the 12 Kizuki, Upper Moon 6, Daki, and Gyutaro. Their story starts in the poorest part of the entertainment district. Born into poverty and squalor, Gyutaro was shunned by society from the very beginning. His mother attempted to kill him multiple times due to his unsightly appearance, marking the beginning of a life filled with suffering. Gyutaro was thin, sickly, and considered ugly, often jeered at and ridiculed by those around him. Despite the abuse, Gyutaro found solace in his younger sister Ume, who was beautiful and innocent. However, life only became harder. Gyutaro took on the role of a debt collector, using his naturally cruel and vindictive nature to climb the ranks of his harsh world. His skills with a sickle and his cunning demeanor turned him into a feared figure in the district, yet it was a life devoid of joy. His only happiness came from Ume, whose beauty became both a blessing and a curse. As Ume matured, she was taken in by a courtesan house for her looks, while Gyutaro worked tirelessly to support them, but tragedy struck when Ume's defiance led her to injure a samurai. In retaliation, the madam of the house had her burned alive. When Gyutaro returned, he found his beloved sister barely clinging to life, discarded like trash in the streets. Devastated, he carried her lifeless body through the district, overwhelmed with grief and rage. It was in this moment of despair that fate intervened. The former Upper Moon 6, Doma, found them and offered them a second chance at life as demons. With nothing left to lose, Gyutaro and Ume accepted, transforming into the fearsome Daki and Gyutaro, vowing vengeance on the world that had wronged them. As demons, they embraced their new identities and powers, each driven by a shared bond of sibling loyalty and a desire to survive in a world that had shown them no mercy. Let's delve into the twisted tale of Gyokko, Upper Moon 5. Gyokko's story begins long before he took on his grotesque demon form. As a human named Managi, he was born in a small fishing village and showed an abnormal fascination with the sea and its creatures. His peculiar obsession often led him to dissect dead fish, and he frequently found beauty in the macabre. Unfortunately, his strange behavior isolated him from the other villagers, leaving him alone with his morbid curiosities. The turning point in Managi's life came when he witnessed the corpse of a drowned fisherman. Instead of feeling fear or sadness, Managi was captivated, drawn to the body with a sense of wonder. He began to mutilate the corpse, creating a gruesome display that horrified the villagers. This act of desecration was too much for them to tolerate, and they violently ostracized Managi, chasing him away and labeling him a freak. Abandoned and consumed by his obsessions, Managi's life spiraled further into darkness. His loneliness festered into madness, and he found solace in creating grotesque art from the remains of both humans and animals. Muzan Kibutsuji discovered Managi in this state, offering him the power and immortality of a demon. With nothing left to lose, Managi accepted, shedding his humanity and becoming Gyokko, the Upper Moon 5. As Gyokko, he embraced his sadistic artistry, reveling in creating horrifying masterpieces that reflected his warped mind. His story is a testament to how isolation and obsession can twist even the most human of hearts into something monstrous. Now we move to the complex and fractured psyche of Upper Moon 4, Hantengu. Before he became a demon, Hantengu was a man plagued by paranoia and delusions, living in constant fear of being persecuted for crimes he did not commit. His mind was a fragile tapestry of lies and deceit. Hantengu was a thief and a murderer, but he always justified his actions by believing he was the victim of a cruel and unjust world. His paranoia reached its peak when he was eventually caught and sentenced to execution for his crimes. Even as he faced death, Hantengu refused to accept his guilt, insisting that he was innocent and that the world was conspiring against him. His delusions of persecution were so deeply ingrained that he couldn't see the reality of his actions. In a final act of desperation, Hantengu's emotions overwhelmed him, and he manifested his latent demonic powers. Muzan Kibutsuji found Hantengu in this pitiful state, seeing potential in his fractured mind. As Hantengu became a demon, his personality splintered into multiple forms, each embodying different aspects of his psyche, fear, anger, joy, and sadness. These clones were manifestations of his inability to accept his true nature and the atrocities he committed. As Upper Moon 4, Hantengu's power lies not only in his physical abilities, but in the turmoil of his tortured mind. His story serves as a chilling reminder of how guilt and paranoia can shatter one's identity, leaving only fragments of a person behind. Upper Moon 3, Akaza. The formidable Upper Moon 3 has a past steeped in tragedy and loss. Born as Hakuji, he grew up in the poorest districts of Edo, Japan. Hakuji's life was marred by hardship from a young age. His father was bedridden due to illness, and Hakuji resorted to stealing medicine to keep him alive. However, when the authorities discovered his thievery, his father, stricken by guilt, took his own life to alleviate the burden on his son. Devastated by his father's death, Hakuji wandered aimlessly until he was taken in by Kaizo, a kind-hearted dojo owner who recognized the boy's potential. Kaizo taught him martial arts, providing him with a new purpose. Hakuji dedicated himself to mastering the art of combat, finding solace in the dojo, and forming a bond with Kaizo's daughter, Koyuki. Her gentle presence brought light to Hakuji's dark world, and they eventually fell in love. But fate had other plans. Koyuki suffered from a chronic illness, and Hakuji devoted himself to caring for her. Their love blossomed despite the challenges they faced, and they dreamed of a future together. However, tragedy struck when a rival dojo, fueled by jealousy, poisoned the well, leading to Kaizo and Koyuki's deaths. The loss shattered Hakuji, leaving him consumed by rage and despair. In his anguish, Hakuji unleashed his fury on the rival dojo, massacring its members with his bare hands. It was in this state of grief and rage that Muzan Kibutsuji found him, offering him power and immortality as a demon. With nothing left to live for, Hakuji accepted, transforming into Akaza, the relentless Upper Moon 3. Despite his demonic nature, Akaza retains remnants of his humanity, struggling with memories of his lost love and a desire to grow stronger to protect those he cares for. His tragic backstory highlights the devastating impact of loss and the lengths one may go to when pushed to the brink of despair. Upper Moon 2, Doma. Now we explore the chilling tale of Doma, Upper Moon 2, whose past is as cold and calculating as his personality. Doma was born with rainbow-colored eyes, a trait that captivated those around him. From a young age, he was worshipped as a deity by a cult that believed he was the reincarnation of a god. Despite the adoration, Doma felt nothing. Emotions like joy, sorrow, and fear were foreign to him. He viewed human life as insignificant and meaningless, a perspective that only deepened as he grew older. Doma's apathy towards life led him to indulge in hedonistic pursuits, seeking pleasure in the fleeting existence of humans. He became the leader of the cult, exploiting his followers' blind devotion to satisfy his twisted curiosity. His charm and charisma masked the emptiness within him, allowing him to manipulate those around him effortlessly. His transformation into a demon came when Muzan Kibutsuji, intrigued by Doma's potential, offered him immortality. As a demon, Doma's apathy only intensified, and he embraced his new role with cold detachment. He developed a twisted belief that consuming humans was an act of mercy, freeing them from the suffering of mortal life. This warped ideology fueled his insatiable hunger, driving him to become one of the most feared Upper Moons. Upper Moon 1, Kokushibo. Finally, we come to Kokushibo, the enigmatic Upper Moon 1, whose past is intertwined with the history of the Demon Slayer Corps itself. Before becoming a demon, Kokushibo was known as Michikatsu Tsugikuni, the elder brother of Yoriichi Tsugikuni, the legendary swordsman who invented the breathing techniques. Michikatsu's life was defined by jealousy and rivalry with his younger brother, whose natural talent and humility overshadowed him at every turn. Born into a family with a long lineage of swordsmen, Michikatsu was expected to carry on the tradition. However, he lived in the shadow of Yoriichi, whose prodigious skills and gentle nature earned him admiration and respect. Michikatsu struggled to accept his brother's superiority, harboring a deep-seated envy that festered over the years. Despite his resentment, Michikatsu loved his brother and sought his approval. He trained relentlessly, determined to surpass Yoriichi and prove his worth. But no matter how hard he tried, Yoriichi's skill remained unmatched. This unyielding rivalry drove a wedge between them, and Michikatsu's jealousy eventually consumed him. In a moment of weakness, Michikatsu encountered Muzan Kibutsuji, who preyed on his insecurities and offered him power beyond his his wildest dreams. Seduced by the promise of strength and immortality, Michikatsu succumbed to temptation and became Kokushibo, the fearsome Upper Moon One. As a demon, he retained his mastery of the sword, becoming a formidable foe who wielded both the moon-breathing technique and demonic abilities. Kokushibo's story is a poignant tale of ambition and the destructive nature of envy. His life serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of letting jealousy fester and the consequences of betraying one's own humanity for the sake of power. These backstories offer a glimpse into the complex and tragic lives of the Upper Moon demons in Demon Slayer. Each character's history is a testament to the pain and suffering that shaped them into the fearsome beings they became. From Gyotaro and Daki's struggle for survival to Kokushibo's envy-driven downfall, these tales remind us of the human emotions that linger beneath the surface of even the most monstrous souls.